Title: Whispering Shadows. Chapter 1: The Lost Path. The sky over Aokigahara Forest was a shifting canvas of gray, casting a muted light over the dense, ancient woods below. Haruka Tanaka, Kenji Sato, Mei Nakamura, and Ryota Ishikawa stood at the edge of the forest, the cool air of early autumn wrapping around them like a foreboding shroud. Haruka's eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and apprehension as she clutched a weathered map, its creases worn from years of handling. "Let's stick together and keep our eyes open," Haruka said, her voice carrying a tone of determination. The group set off, their footsteps crunching on the layer of fallen leaves. The path ahead was clear, bordered by trees that seemed to reach for the sky with their gnarled branches. As they entered the forest, the light began to fade, swallowed by the thick canopy overhead. Kenji, always cautious, checked his compass frequently. "Something's off," he muttered, his face creased with concern. The needle spun erratically, refusing to settle. Mei, normally bubbly and energetic, trailed behind, her eyes scanning the darkening forest with increasing unease. "I feel like we're not alone," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Ryota, the most laid-back of the group, chuckled softly. "It's just a forest, Mei. It's probably just your imagination." But even as he spoke, a shiver ran down his spine. The trees seemed to close in around them, the once clear path now shrouded in darkness. The feeling of being watched grew stronger, a subtle yet persistent discomfort that none of them could shake. Chapter 2: The Vanishing Trail. Hours slipped by as they ventured deeper into the forest, the path growing fainter with each step. The trees, once welcoming, now twisted in grotesque, unnatural forms, their branches weaving together to create a near-impenetrable barrier. Haruka stopped frequently, checking the map and trying to discern their location, but the landmarks seemed to have vanished. Kenji's frustration was palpable as he fumbled with his compass, which continued to spin wildly. "This doesn't make any sense," he said, his voice edged with worry. Mei, who had been quiet, suddenly broke her silence. "I keep hearing whispers," she said, her eyes darting around nervously. "Voices calling my name." The group fell silent, straining to hear the whispers Mei described. The forest was eerily quiet, save for the occasional rustle of leaves. Ryota tried to comfort Mei, but his own sense of unease grew. The shadows around them seemed to move and shift, creating illusions of figures lurking just beyond their vision. Chapter 3: The Unseen Observer. As twilight descended, the forest grew darker, the path nearly invisible beneath the thick layer of leaves. The group stumbled upon an old shrine, its stone structure partially covered in moss and vines. The shrine was ancient, its surface etched with faded symbols that seemed to pulse with an eerie energy. "This is strange," Haruka said, approaching the shrine with cautious curiosity. The whispers, which had been faint, grew louder, forming disjointed phrases that seemed to echo through the trees. "Come closer. You're almost there." Mei took a step back, her eyes wide with fear. "Something's not right. I can feel it." The others felt it too, a palpable sense of being observed, as if the forest itself was alive and watching them. The shadows around the shrine grew darker, more defined, and the air became thick with an unsettling tension. Chapter 4: The Fractured Echo. Nightfall brought a profound silence, broken only by the group's uneasy conversation and the occasional crackle of the struggling fire they had managed to start. The forest was now a labyrinth of darkness, with every direction looking the same. The whispers returned, now a constant, haunting murmur that seemed to reflect their own inner fears. Haruka tried to maintain order, but her leadership faltered as the forest grew more disorienting. Ryota saw fleeting shapes in the darkness, figures that vanished when he turned to look. Mei's anxiety reached a breaking point as the whispers began to call her name directly. "They know us," she whispered, her voice filled with dread. Kenji's attempts to use the compass were futile, and his growing frustration was evident. The compass, like the forest itself, had become a cruel joke, leading them in circles. The darkness was complete now, and the only light came from their dim fire, casting long, flickering shadows that seemed to dance with malevolent intent. Chapter 5: The Echoes of Memory. As the hours dragged on, exhaustion took its toll. May, unable to sleep, was haunted by vivid, disturbing visions from her past. The forest seemed to manifest her deepest fears, projecting them into the shadows that surrounded them. Kenji, too, was plagued by unsettling memories, his past mistakes replaying in his mind as if the forest was taunting him. Haruka's resolve was faltering. She pushed forward, but the whispers grew more personal, each voice echoing her own insecurities and regrets. The forest seemed to respond to their fear, amplifying it, creating a nightmarish landscape where every tree and shadow seemed to reflect their inner turmoil. Chapter 6: The Haunting Presence. At dawn, the forest appeared unchanged, but the sense of dread was undeniable. The group stumbled into a clearing, where an enormous, ancient tree stood at the center. Its twisted roots snaked deep into the ground, and its branches stretched out like skeletal fingers. The air around the tree was charged, almost electric, and the whispers had ceased. The silence was heavy, oppressive. Haruka approached the tree, drawn by an inexplicable compulsion. As she touched its rough bark, the forest seemed to exhale a low, mournful sigh that echoed through the clearing. The others watched in tense silence, the weight of the forest's presence pressing down on them. The tree seemed to hold secrets, its ancient roots entwined with the very essence of the forest. The whispers, once a haunting cacophony, had vanished, leaving only the lingering sense of something ancient and powerful watching them. Chapter 7: The Final Whisper. As they turned to leave, the path appeared unfamiliar, as if the forest had rearranged itself while they were in the clearing. The way out seemed more twisted and labyrinthine than before. The forest, once again, felt alive with an unseen presence, the echoes of their fears lingering in the shadows. The group emerged from Aokigahara, but the experience had left its mark on them. Each of them felt a profound change, a deep connection to the forest that would never fade. The whispers had stopped, but their haunting echoes remained in their minds, a constant reminder of the shadows they had encountered. Though they had escaped the physical confines of the forest, they knew that part of them would forever be bound to the whispering shadows of Aokigahara, a place where reality and the supernatural blurred into an unsettling, unending mystery.